Innovation is in our veins. Soon the whole world will know our names. Sharing our knowledge and freedom reign. We here for the people, you know it's our way. Setting foundations is part of the dream. It doesn't matter if you're new to the game. Listen up now, cause we all gon' say, elevate, 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 higher, elevate, 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 higher. We gon' rise up, we all gon' shine. Work through adversity, stay on the grind. Elevate, elevate, this is our time. Elevate, elevate.
Welcome to the Elevate Podcast, everyone. It's so great to have you all on one more time. It's your boy Josh.
And Reg.
And we're grateful to be back on with you yet again. What a powerhouse of a past week we've had. Well, we have a lot to get into. First, Toronto Pride. Yes, the word Toronto Pride and cancelled go into the same sentence as that goes down, as Toronto Pride's like, yeah, we're over this, we're done. And we'll be talking about what happened there. Second, we are getting into, well, the Liberal Party MPs finally got their voices, seeing says Trudeau's gotta go. Then also so much more. We'll be getting into, I don't know, automation tax filings coming to a CRA near you. This and so much more to talk about. Reg, how you feeling, big dog?
I'm feeling good. Happy Canada Day, everyone. I know that this is going to be the day after Canada Day, but I hope that you were able to spend some time with your friends and family and get out there, maybe fire up the barbecue, have a cold one, do whatever you need to do to relax and unwind and take your head out of the space of all the craziness of the world for a bit and just enjoy what a beautiful country we do live in. As I was able to do just that, and I was able to meet up with some friends. They live in the center of the province, New Ross,
Ooh.
the geographic center, not the not the metropolitan center. But it was beautiful. We were just out in the countryside and got to hang out on his farm for a bit and just share a couple drinks, share some stories, and share some food. And that's really what it's all about. And honestly, I say beautiful because we were driving there from our place and it's about 50 minutes to about an hour away from where we live. And just beautiful. I was like saying to Jen when we were driving, I was like, we actually live in like a stunningly beautiful province. Like the lakes, the trees, like everything is just really, really nice. And also the fact that I was like, and this highway is twinned now.
Yay.
So that was also a plus. And I was saying to Jen, I was like, you know what? I was like, for all the crap that Houston gets, I was like, there's been stuff happening and we can see evidence of it right now. And I don't know if those highway twinning projects were signed before he got in office or not, but I'm liking driving on that road. So, good job.
There you go. Good job. Yeah, we had a fantastic Canada Day weekend. Got to hang out with some friends, enjoyed our beautiful country that we live in, and we're here for it, man. It was a good time. Had a fantastic time hanging out with the homies and managed to get through a whole Canada Day barbecue without talking about politics.
Me too.
Hey.
Me too.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, it was fantastic. Because apparently, we know that the Liberal Party of Canada is like, well, we know we'll be talking about politics at the barbecue. Nah, not this one, big dog. We stayed far from it, and it was much more peaceful because of it.
Yeah, and you know what though? It's funny because it's like, it wasn't even that people were going to disagree or anything like that. It's just, everybody's like, you know what? We're going to save this for next week. Right now, this is our time, and we're just going to be in this space, and we're going to enjoy the food, enjoy each other's company, and let those crazy people in Ottawa do what they do best during the week.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, brother. Well, we have to get into the news. Reg, hit us with what's been going on.
So, in the news this week, if you were a traveler with WestJet, you would already know what's coming. So, WestJet, they had a strike hit them. So 800 flights were delayed. And the strike ended with a deal, though, because it was a strike by the mechanics for the planes. I wonder if there's anything to do with Boeing there. Who knows? But we'll save that for another day. But anyway, it was a substantial impact to travelers. Thousands of people delayed. And like I said, 800 flights. Not great look for WestJet. But you know what? We live in Canada. In Canada, you only have your pick of 3 different airlines. So whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway. So Bank of Canada, this is something to watch. So they haven't done anything yet, but I wanted to bring this up because I'm a subscriber to the Bank of Canada's basically email blast.
Oh, fancy.
Anybody can do it. You can log into Bank of Canada online and actually sign up for all their stuff. I just checked everything because I wanted all their reports, their financial data, everything. And so I get that coming in. So one of the things I wanted to bring to your attention, so July 15th. So that's when Bank of Canada is going to release their Business Outlook Survey and the Canadian Survey of Customer Expectations. So basically, these are interviews done with hundreds of firms across Canada, 100 firms across Canada. They don't have the resources to do 100. Anyway, and what they do is these firms are picked in accordance with Canada's GDP composition, and they interview them on basically whether they think that they're going to expand, they're going to decrease operations, like what does their business outlook look like for the next year. And so they do this, a couple times a year. And it's basically one of the big things that play into like CPI, into any political rhetoric around financial incentives for business. So it's something to be on the lookout for. And then the Canadian Survey of Consumer Expectations is also coming out on the same day.
Okay.
And so that one is basically asking consumers, like, how are you making out buying your necessities? Like, how are you making it with your labor market and household finances? And what do you think of inflation and how are you making it with inflation? So all those things are coming out on the 15th. So we'll be sure to look into that. But yeah, if you're keen on looking at that, make sure you're dialed into that. And then also on July 24th coming up, that's when the interest rate announcement's coming and the monetary policy report.
Whoop.
So monetary policy report comes out 4 times. This is, I think this is the 3rd iteration of that.
Yep.
So that's going to be something that's going to basically also talk about inflation and growth, probably going to be really heavily impacted by the other reports that I mentioned. And then also the interest rate being released on the 24th, because they release that about 8 times a year. And so the next one being in September. So this one is going to be interesting. And we have RBC and TD saying that they're going to see a decrease. I don't know. I don't know if I buy it. So
they've been saying it for a while.
I know.
And I won't be surprised if it's true.
Yeah, well, the banks have been right on other things in the past. So if you're going to bet on the banks.
Yeah.
And
hate to say it's true, but he's right.
Yep. So they're thinking that it's going to be brought down 0.25 basis points there, or 25 basis points, sorry, and bring us to 4.5%. And my thought is, like, I still think they're probably going to hold, because I think that with the real estate market at the state that it's at right now, I don't know if they're going to bring it down, but who knows? Bet with the banks, but that's kind of where I'm thinking. We'll be watching it though and talking about it.
100%. Also,
move over, Calgary. We got our own water problems.
Yeah, we can't make fun of y'all anymore. No.
Yeah. So even saying Calgary now, I just think of Serafina's Calgary.
Yeah, true.
But anyway, yeah. So in Halifax, there was a power interruption at one of the major lakes that feeds the Halifax water supply. And unfortunately, it meant that they weren't able to add chlorine to the water. So you have a lot of untreated water now in the water system. So we're on a boil order for all of the city. So thousands of customers.
Unless you're Dartmouth, shout out Dartmouth. Let's go.
Yeah. Or in my case, I'm on my own well.
Yeah,
so,
no one cares about you.
Yeah.
Shut
Nobody
up.
cares about Dartmouth.
Yo, we all care about Dartmouth out here, dude. Just how Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah, they don't live there.
Yeah.
They live on McCabe Lake.
Yeah.
Or no, sorry, the biggest lake, Shubenacadie Lake.
Oh, good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not in Dartmouth.
That's pretty close to Dartmouth in my understanding.
Yeah.
There we go.
Anyway.
Yeah.
For
Next.
all you non-Nova Scotians.
Yeah.
But for Calgary, though, they're supposed to announce their plan for restoring water in the next couple of days. So you should hear about your water plan, and we'll figure out ours. Yeah. And also out west, unfortunately in Saskatchewan, so the co-op stores there, or food chain, is actually the victim of a cyber attack. And so their store shelves are empty right now because they can't get the suppliers to supply them food because they're like locked out of their systems.
Gee, is this like all co-op stores or just the ones in Saskatchewan?
So this is in Regina, Saskatoon.
Okay.
So
Gee.
unfortunately, yeah, their stores shelves are empty. It's not a good look.
That's tough.
But the biggest thing, though, that happened in this past week in the news was the American presidential debate.
Woohoo, baby!
So for those of you that saw, we had a convicted felon going up against a what we would say is maybe a dementia patient. So that was a hot mess. That was.
Yeah, this is an in the news segment, but we're going to talk about it for a couple minutes because it was honestly at this point everyone and their moms already talked about it. We've beaten it to a pulp, but admittedly, I didn't watch it live.
Oh, okay.
I actually had lacrosse that night. Didn't have a chance to go watch it. I replayed it. I got to see Twitter's reaction to it first before I went to go watch it, and it was really funny to see the reactions. So I go home, and my unpolitically initiated wife is about to go to bed, and she's like, "So I watched the election or the debate," and I was like, "Oh, did you? How was it? How was it?" And she's like, I wasn't encouraged. I was like, oh, was it tough to see a feeble old man just do nothing up there and just be helpless? And she's like, yes, it was terrible. It was terrible.
I think one comment I saw was like, this isn't a debate, this is elder abuse.
Yeah.
It was like, oh. And then Elon Musk tweets, he says, this was a win tonight for the memes.
For
and I
the
was
memes.
like, yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. Trump did what he was supposed to do. He actually kept even keel, didn't get into too much of a mess. Like there's points that he was getting riled up and then he calmed himself back down. But for the most part, he let Joe Biden do what Joe Biden does. Man, yeah, we're talking about, we beat Medicare. I know. Trump's reaction to that was the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, you beat it to the ground. You beat it to a pulp. I was like, sheesh. It was rough.
Yeah, it was painful. And there was a couple clips too that people have been sharing quite widely on social media where he just you can see him get lost in thought and then completely just start the pandemic and then immigration and strong, safe America. And it was just there was just stuff being thrown out. It was spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah.
And it was and watching him walk off the stage at the very end, you see Trump kind of storm off, he's like, oh, I killed that.
Yeah.
And then you see Biden feebly being helped off the stage by his wife. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh man, they need to get rid of him. Honestly, for the good of our American friends, they need a new person.
Did you see his wife, Jill, present him to the crowd afterwards?
Yeah.
You answered all the questions. Good job.
I know.
Oh gosh.
I know. And they talk about the Millennial Participation Award, oh my word.
Yeah.
Wow. You get a gold star. You answered questions.
What did Trump do? Lie.
And then it was funny because all the left-wing media stations, they were
meltdown.
They were having an absolute meltdown about this all. And then they were actually fact-checking Biden.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the first time I've seen this happen.
Yeah, this is wild.
Yeah, and so and we're seeing it in Canadian media too, but it was just so pronounced in the American media where they're like, Biden said this, which is absolutely incorrect, and he said this, which is totally incorrect, and he just went through this list, and I think it was on CNN. They had a special report, a dude come out there and actually list out all the things that he got wrong, and I was like, this is your news base right now that you are worshipped by, that is just ripping you a new one. Writing's on the wall, get a new guy. Canada and America, you need some new leaders.
Well, that's what I thought was interesting too, because how strong the left-wing media came out on this one. I was like, oh, the call went out. We can now start criticizing Biden. Yeah. That's exactly what it was. And there's we need to put pressure on him to get him to step down now. That's all it was.
Question. Yeah. Did the call come out to be it's okay to do this because of them having another plan for what they're going to do with Biden? Or did the call go out because they're we're going to make too much money off of reporting how ridiculous this was if people start clicking our ads. So we're leaving money on the table if we don't report on this in a way that gets people clicking.
I'll say this, because of how the media arm's been working very closely with the government arm in the States, and this is the earliest they've ever called a presidential debate ever. I think it was more so the former.
Okay.
But this is the part this is the issue, which I just don't think they've been planning correctly. I think that's the problem. Is the nominations have gone by. You can't just put somebody else in his position now. Joe has to verbally say he's going to step down. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't, you're stuck with him.
Yeah.
So from what people are saying, it's not really so much Joe, but more so his wife that's like, oh, he's staying.
I know.
You know, and it's like, I'm like, how dare she do that? But that's kind of what I'm kind of seeing what's happening. So even like, I think between now and then, like we're 4 or 5 months from the presidential election. I think regardless of what happens, it's too late to put somebody else in to get any type of ground. I don't know. I don't see it happening.
You don't think Aunt Kamala could come out there and just, lead the party to a win?
Well, there's the issue, right? The Democrats, same with the liberals up here, their ideologies isn't not going to allow them to do it. First off, Kamala is incredibly unpopular. No one likes her. So what are you going to do? You're going to bring like the boy they have in the wings we'll have 2 people in the wings. One that we know about, one that we are thinking about. Michelle Obama, which is the one that we're kind of like, it could happen. But then 2 is Gavin Newsom, governor of California, who's like, be scared of him. He's Justin Trudeau, like policies, but so much smarter and very crafty with his words.
I was going to say very well spoken.
Yeah,
he's not
sharp.
juice box water bottle.
No, dude. He's like, he's Justin Trudeau 5.0 and has all the same terrible policies, but knows how to talk around them. And so that's something to kind of keep an eye out for. But what are you going to do? The only way, if Joe steps down, Kamala immediately goes into a spot. So what do you do as a Democratic Party? Hey, black woman, you're going to step aside for this white guy now to be president. You think that's going to go well with their base? No. So I think they're painted in a tough spot at the moment. And I think they're screwed no matter which way they go about it.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was a long in the news. Last thing I want to mention though. People have been messaging us about it, even texting me about it. So we made it onto a big YouTube channel here on the show. We got Curtis Connor using one of our clips in one of his videos that got close to 3.5 million views.
Oh, wow.
On YouTube.
Which one?
It was essentially him talking about how conspiracy theories got so crazy. They used our Disney conspiracy theory that me and Dalton talked about way back in the day about them cryogenically freezing Disney's head. So it was it was so funny to get messages about this. I'm like, that we did that close to 2.5 years ago at this point, and see it now being used in a recent video that has come out is hilarious.
Yeah.
And I got it from all sides. I got my close friend group, my wife's friend group in the States saw it. Dalton obviously texted me about it. And then we also had our listeners be like, yo, would you check this out? This is crazy. And so we saw it. We appreciate the love, but it was interesting to see it all come to fruition. So what a wild intro.
Yeah. And even wilder, though, up in Toronto.
Dude, this is something else, eh? I have to admit. Pride Toronto come out with a notice, which you texted me this. So I just saw this message that we're about to read out, and then we'll kind of get into what led up to it. So I was just kind of stunned when I first read this. The official statement from Pride Toronto. Today, we made the decision to cancel the remainder of the Pride Parade out of our commitment to ensuring public safety. While we deeply respect and uphold everyone's right to peacefully protest, our utmost priority is the well-being of all participants and spectators. We recognize the Pride Parade has a highly anticipated event that many organizations and individuals eagerly prepare for. We empathize with those who are looking forward to participating and regret any inconvenience caused by this decision. So, what happened? Well, big weekend for Pride. They have their big old parade down in Toronto. And who shows up? Free Palestine, free Palestine. Shows up, interrupts the whole parade, locks it all down, saying that Pride is paired up with genocide. All the same old stuff that comes out. And they had to cancel the remainder of the parade. And it was very interesting to see the two ideologies who are like apparently on the same side all of a sudden clash at this. And it was really funny to read the statement and be like, we're not going to say anything negative about it, but it stunk. And so that's kind of what we're seeing here right now is what we've been talking about, the interesting idea of, gay people for Palestine and all this. Well, that finally has come to a halt. And now we're seeing the clash of the two groups in this event. And man, it was interesting to watch.
Yeah, I honestly, there's been a number of things I've been seeing about Toronto Pride, honestly. And some of them I realized were conflations from last year's Pride too, because last year's Pride, they actually had like full on old dudes out there with their junk out, waving it, gyrating at the public. And like, there's a video of it, like going down like Dundas Street. And you're just like, wow, that's actually, that's indecent exposure right there on camera. Like there. And like all the comments being like, I can't believe this is Toronto. I can't believe this is Canada. Like, how is this okay? And so they had already been in hot water about that from last year. And now this year with the Free Palestine protests causing massive gridlock to the point where you had like public safety offices going, we need to do something about this before this becomes a concern. We can't get ambulances, fire trucks, and things like that through.
Yeah.
So, and like you said, though, the ideologies behind it too, because it's like, yeah, you know, homosexuals for Hamas. Like, what? Like, how is that a thing? Like, you don't understand. Like, they're anyway.
Yeah,
it's interesting for sure that this is the Canada that we live in.
Yeah, well, there's a photo that I can't seem to pull up right now, but it was one that really kind of summed it all up. Was obviously the group, you know, protesting for Palestine. Then you just had a naked old guy walking by with them. Yeah, that sums it up right about there. Yeah. Yeah.
And you wonder why people are going far right.
Yeah.
Like, because everybody's looking at this going, this is ludicrous. Like this like naked old person with a puppy mask on that looks like, you know, a perverted Paw Patrol, like next to like people actively supporting terrorists. And you're like, what? How is this Canada? And they're like, far right is taking over the country. It's like common sense is taking over the country because clearly there's none to be found here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it has been interesting to see, you know, Toronto Pride get into a lot of hot water, specifically over the past 3 to 4 years. And what I find to be the part that was the most eye-popping for me was there's never been from my understanding, from following the Pride Parade for the past 20 years, there's never been a point, except for this year, where a group with an opposing perspective shut down the parade.
Mm-hmm.
There's been people that have protested it on the side and get kind of laughed at, pointing at them or whatever, ignore them. But no one's actually stopped the parade and then had a statement come out saying, yeah, we can't continue for everyone's safety. That was the first for me. And the fact that they won't even come out and say, this was not appropriate. This wasn't good. It was, no, we support your right to protest, even though it wasn't all that peaceful.
Yeah, well, the problem is that everybody's so worried that if you point your finger at somebody else, that they're going to be like instantly racist, Nazi, like prejudice. And it's like, you can disagree with somebody who has a different skin tone than you and it not be about their skin tone. Like, imagine that. That's the part that's wild. And there's also like growing discontent within the gay community itself too, about like, what is the purpose of Pride? And like, what do we do with this now? Because, you know, there's a lot of like the older generation gay folks who are like, we were fighting in an empathetic way to try and connect people to the fact that like all we wanted was equal marriage opportunity. We just wanted to be able to be who we were and not be persecuted and not be, you know, looked down upon in workplace or in other places that they need to be. And they were like, we just want the same quality of life as others. And so I was listening actually to a friend of mine like talk about this, and he was like, I feel like we've achieved that. He's like, but the problem is, he's like, now we've kind of gotten into this militant state where we've gone too far. And I had to laugh because he's like, I went to an event that was supposed to be a singing event. He's like, and then he's like, you know, it was a big choir and it was a gay men's choir. And he was like, when I was there, he's like, it was great. He's like, but then all of a sudden, he's like, they just like change over to this other song. And this guy just starts like stripping in front of the whole thing. And he's like, the gays, man, they've gone too far. We need to roll back some of those rights. I was like, what? I was like, only you can say this because you're in the gay community. But like, I was like, that's far right hate right there, man. Yeah. I was like, that'd get you canceled in an instant. And he's like, I don't know. He's like, just why? He's like, I went there to go hear my friends sing. He's like, why does everything have to be like hypersexualized? And I think that's what's happening is that people and I think that's actually creating more homophobia right now. It's actually pulling people from the cause. And so when you would normally see these supporters like prop up Pride and say like, you know, those pro-Palestine folks need to go, they're just not there. Mm-hmm. And so you've got, everything happening with Pride, and then you've got pro-Palestine happening at the same time, and the rest of the moderate folks are just kind of standing back and like, let's see what happens. What's your bet? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So yeah, everybody else is just kind of checked out, and this is what you get.
Absolutely. Well, it's extremists have taken over the circle, period, on both sides of everything at this point, and all sides of everything at this point. I was had multiple. Sorry, there was. I lied at the beginning of the show. There was one conversation I had at the barbecue today, but it was about hyperpartisanship and how it's like I should be free to and open to criticize all parties.
Yeah,
and what they stand. Like I can't be canceled by my liberal friends for criticizing Trudeau and the Liberals. I also shouldn't be canceled by my conservative friends for criticizing Poilievre and the Conservatives. Like, it's just the hyper-partisanship is wild. And that's kind of what we're seeing in general. It's like all the normal people, all the causes that have happened, all the normal people have checked out. It's like, we're good.
Yeah.
You had us and then you lost us.
Exactly.
And you go figure it out on your own now at this point, because we're done.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel, and that's how a lot of people feel.
Man, I have to ask, like, before we jump into our next segment, though, did you see that video that the Liberal Party put out about Poilievre?
No.
Oh, man, it was so good. They had, like, taken clips, basically, from Poilievre over the years. Like, you saw the first one. He was, like, super, super young. And he was basically, like, marriage should be between a man and a woman, blah, blah. And, like, they were trying to pull every terrible thing.
Yeah.
And the problem was it kind of backfired, because apart from that one clip that they put out there, the rest of it was kind of hilarious. And and then it ends with him like smoking a hookah and just being like, yeah, this is good. And everybody's just like, I don't think this is having the effect that you want.
The heck?
Yeah. And I think the Liberal Party's at a loss right now. And so when we talk about like people being canceled, I really think that the Liberal Party is trying everything to kind of bring back that like cancel everyone kind of, if you're not on board with everything that we say, then you're going to be canceled. And it's not working.
No.
It's not working at all. And we're seeing it happen within their own ranks.
Yeah, no one's flinching right now. And so much so is a story that happened in Halifax last weekend that kind of tied this whole situation up, which I thought was interesting was,
Oh, right. I'm sorry. I jumped.
no worries. You had two women who were attacked. And there's our emergency alert for our water boil advisory. Yeah, two girls who were attacked by a group of about 7 to 10 men in downtown Halifax, right in Argyle Street here, and broke their nose, some serious bruises, contusions taken to them, and just kicked and beaten. Kind of what happened was the girls were walking along. So one of the men said something pretty crude towards them. They kind of like, whatever. And they said, the guy said something else to them. They ignored it. And one of the girls was like, I'm not vibing with what the kind of the hatred that's coming out of their mouth. So one of them turned around, told them what's up. And then that's when the men just converged on them and laid the boots to them. And it was not a good situation. And a lot of what was said in the story and what was alleged was that a lot of homophobic slurs were thrown at these ladies. They were a gay couple, lesbian couple, that just got absolutely brutalized in the streets of Halifax. Not fair to them. Not a fan to see it. And what I thought was really interesting is a lot of these stories were said, yes, it was a group of 7 to 10 men. But if you go to the woman who was attacked, her Facebook page, she actually kind of almost put out what I would say like a police report version of what happened. And this is what I thought really caught a lot of people's attention was she said, as some may know, myself and my partner Tori were attacked on Saturday night by a group of 7 to 10 plus Middle Eastern men believed to be from Syria, aged 18 to 25 on Argyle Street in downtown Halifax. One particular individual wearing a red shirt with a walking boot initially made a sexually degrading comment to me. My partner Tori and this man got into a verbal altercation where this individual made several disgusting slurs, some being homophobic. Following this, the 7 to 10 men attacked me and my partner, throwing several punches and kicks to our faces, ribs, etc. The outcome of this attack has resulted in broken nose, chipped tooth, several bruises and lumps on our head, faces, etc. We're extremely thankful that things were not worse. If anyone has any further information or had witnessed this event or has any personal video footage, I'd be extremely grateful if you could share it. Stay safe and happy Pride Month. So this stinks and we don't want to see it. And I do find it interesting though, how all faces And most of the videos that were shown on CTV and other news outlets, all the faces are blurred.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whose identity are you trying to find? You're literally trying to hide the identity of the attackers. Why? And we end up finding out the police couldn't even get the ID of the attackers. They refused to provide any identification and let them go. And yet you have video footage of what they're doing to them right here.
Yeah.
How does that happen? And why, like, what is going on here? And I think that question should be asked of, like, why are the attackers being protected? B, why is the news protecting them? The news doesn't even go as far as to even describe them. They just said they're men. Like, what are we doing here? I'm very curious. So,
yeah, I think we all know, like, we all know what it is. It's people, they don't want to, feed into the far right narrative about immigrants and all that stuff. So, and you know what I mean? Like, they say they think they're of Syrian descent. Like, all this, again, is just kind of like what they think is the case. And so we can't really definitively comment on it. But the problem is that the folks who are supposed to definitively comment on it, the police, the media, those folks are not doing that job. And they're doing it because I think that they're worried about social cohesion. But clearly social cohesion is not happening right now. And that needs to be the topic that's addressed here. If people can't walk safely down the streets because we have a pack, a gang of individuals, like, that's gang violence is what that is, then what are we doing?
yeah, exactly. And we have to be able to be free to criticize what this is, because the safety is of utmost importance. I'll be straight with you. People ain't going to like this. But if this is just a group of Nova Scotian men, their face is plastered everywhere. This was a hate crime on gay women. This, that, like, boom.
Cancel them.
Boom.
They lose their jobs.
It'll be over.
Yeah.
It'll be over. Why are they being protected? Why are they being protected? Well, we know why. So we hit on it right there. Social cohesion. And we don't want to feed into any harmful rhetoric is the issue. So that's where we're at. I do want to see these men arrested.
And charged.
They should be. We need to protect our people. We need to protect our society from stuff like this. I don't want to see any more of this. The fact that she said, I think it was the initial woman who talked about it, I didn't catch her name, but she was talking about it in an interview with CTV, where she's like, I'm not going downtown Halifax anymore. Like this, like I'm just can't do it no more. And I'm like, I don't blame you. That'd be terrifying.
Yeah.
Like it's already hard enough for women to walk around the city at night. Like, it's impossible now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So, yeah, anyone got names? Name them up. We want to see it.
And what's crazy is that I actually saw a video the other day, and it was basically a quote unquote far right individual from, I think she was from the Netherlands, and she was talking to some folks in Hungary about immigration. And she was talking about, like, the challenges in social cohesion is what it was. She was like, there's folks that are being immigrated who are not sharing our cultural values, who do not share the same views with women about them being equal to men. And she said, and what we're seeing massive amounts of violence against women, rapes and sexual abuse, slurs and, like, comments and things like that to make women feel unsafe. And they were like, where's the protection? And I think that, like, part of the immigration into another country should be, do your cultural values align?
Yep.
And at the very least, like, if you are found to be part of, like, violence or being violent against the population of that area, whether they be other immigrants in that population or they be native born individuals of that country, that should be reason for pulling up your status and going, I don't know if you should really be in this country. Do you belong here? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sorry, but not 3 strikes, you're out. Like, 1 strike, you're out.
Yep. Because
being able to come here is a privilege. And I think that, like I said, if it's against the native born population, if it's against like other immigrant population here, I don't care. You know what I mean? It's, if you're not actively trying to make things better for folks in the country, why are you here?
Yep.
So
That's plain and simple. It is what it is. It's a tough truth. No one wants to talk about it, especially no one wants to hear two white guys on a mic talk about it these days. But clearly, our media failed us on this one. And people don't like the fact that we talk about these things. But this is why we have this show. This is why we're here, because these jabronis will not talk about it.
yeah, and the thing is, like, it's not racist.
No.
Like, that's the other part. If these were two brown women, it's the same thing.
Yep.
It doesn't change what happened. The act was still violent. The act was still hateful. It was still homophobic. It does not align with Canadian values. See ya.
Yep.
It's not like if these were white dudes and they immigrated, say they were Ukrainians, they came over, the same thing. Send them back.
Yep.
Sorry. It's nothing to do with race. It's everything to do with your privilege to be in this country. And if they were, like you said, native-born Canadians, they should be thrown in jail and faces plastered everywhere, because that's unacceptable behavior and that's unsafe.
Yeah, exactly. It's just about protecting the population.
Exactly.
Simply put. Sorry. Sorry.
Not sorry.
Not sorry. Can't call racist. Don't. Brains are melting. Oh no. We're moving on though to brains melting though, because we talked about it last week's podcast. We ended it with like, what's going to happen in the Toronto St. Paul's by-election? We went off the air. We went to go watch the Oilers game. This, that, the other. And then I texted you at like 11 o'clock our time, like, oh, looks like the Liberals took the seat by a slim margin, but they got it. I woke up the next morning, 7 a.m. Conservatives took it. And I was like, whoa, what happened there? Holy smokes. He pulled a Joe Biden. Votes came in overnight. They finished counting at 5 a.m. Eastern time. It turned out it was a Conservative win. And I was dumbfounded at what I saw. And do you know who else is dumbfounded? The whole Liberal Party. They were like, oh, we've had this since 1993. You know what else happened in 1993? Was the year after I was born. That's how long they've had this rioting for. And so people in the Liberal Party are like, oh my gosh, what's going on? We had Chrystia Freeland. They knew it was in danger. It was in danger. Trudeau showed up. Freeland showed up. Guilbeault showed up. The whole cabinet showed up as the Liberal Avengers, trying to save the seat, knocking doors. Please, we need your votes. Wasn't enough. Got taken right out. And what happens? Well, Guilbeault goes to Union Station, sits in the business lounge of the Via train, and it was like fielding calls from the Liberal Party. MPs freaking out. What are they going to do? Let's just settle down. It's okay. We're going to lose our seats. I'm going to lose my job. It's okay. We'll figure it out. There's a campaign right now against Trudeau in this Liberal Party that is trying to get set up. We're trying to like minimize it. We'll be okay. No, we got to get him to step down. Trust me, we got this. That was what kind of this one-sided conversation happened. And a reporter from the Toronto Star happened to hear all of it and wrote it all in an article. And I'm like, Guilbeault, well, you are probably as dumb as you look. What are you doing, brother? You know, having these important private conversations in the business lounge via rail. And this is the conversation I was caught up, and it was really interesting. We posted the reporter who actually appeared on Power and Politics. We posted his part of CBC video there. He talked about what everything went down. We'll link it here. And I was like, it was interesting what he kind of caught out of it. Right now, the issue is you have a lot of, like, you have like really there's obviously about 10 MPs right now ish that are like, this guy's got to go. But they won't come out and say it. There's only three that put their name to it. Catherine McKenna, he was cabinet member. Mr. McDonald from Newfoundland. Yep. And then number 3 from New Brunswick, forgetting his name right now. Right here. Stay with me, y'all. Stay with me, y'all. I'm right here. Wayne Long. Got it. We got there. Yeah, Wayne Long, who actually penned a letter and sent it to the party. He's like, Trudeau needs to step down. Mr. McDonald got on the email chain, hit reply all. He's like, well said. And exclamation mark. And Catherine McKenna obviously voiced her displeasure through her own channels. So the 3 that kind of put their names next to it, but there are plenty others who are not happy, but are just like testing the waters. What's going on? What we've heard, and at least this is what I think it was Justin Ling is his name, is the reporter's name. He says they're about 100, they're about 150 Liberal MPs right now, and they're all kind of like wait and seeing what Trudeau's response is going to be to this. That's what's going to dictate how they proceed. And they apparently, from what I've heard, or at least what he heard, is that people want to see cabinet shuffles.
Yeah,
they want your favorite, Freeland, gone. They want to see Trudeau make some moves in that regard. They want to see Melanie Joly gone. He want to see majority of the cabinet gone because they're underperforming. Will Trudeau do it? I doubt he will. He wants to keep the homies together. And I think he's going to face a lot of issues, a lot of persecution from those within his own party. And we said it before because Ron Butler tweeted about it. He said, clearly he has to step down. And we tweeted back saying, you underestimate the arrogance of this man. He is going nowhere. This guy is Wolf of Wall Street level of material at the moment. He ain't going anywhere. And it's going to take a full-blown, you actually have to... Yeah, the knives have to come out for Caesar, boys. That's the only way he's going anywhere. But no one in that party has any type of gall to step up and step out, because the one quote from this reporter I thought was interesting is people are tired from daddy knows best approach in the party. That's what I've heard. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, what I find interesting is that one, I'm like, I don't know if I like Ken McDonald or not like him, because he's like, he's obviously trying to speak out, but then he always recants the statements.
Yeah. And
it's like, just stand behind what you said. To me, that it almost feels worse. Mm-hmm. I know it's not. I logically know the fact that he said it in the beginning is enough, because then it's good. But the fact that he won't stand behind them what he says, that just drives me up the wall, because I'm like, come on, stop being such a pansy. You know what I mean?
Say it with the chest, Reg.
I'm just come on, man. Get out there and back up what you said. Mm-hmm. And if you actually do have a change of heart, no, he doesn't. He doesn't have a change of heart. He's just being a pansy. So back up what you said, Ken McDonald, because you obviously believe it, because you've said it multiple times, and now are backing this document. And so when we say that the Liberal Party isn't actually out there, there's technically three people. I'd say two people, 1.5 maybe there. So yeah, I think that there's some people that are actually just so sick of it. I find it funny that it's Newfoundland and Brunswick.
Yeah, the Maritimers.
Yeah, they're we're done with this. In typical maritime fashion. But
it goes back to my point, though, right? Well, actually, go back to your point. We just said they're absolute pansies. Do you know why Wayne Long's coming out right now? Because he's not seeking re-election.
Yeah,
he's not going back. So I don't really give a crap what he has to say. The only person that actually has a little bit of salt to them for coming out is Catherine McKenna, which I can't believe I'm saying that, because I think she's the worst. She's one famously known as if you say a lie long enough, people will believe it. She's famous for that. But in this case, I have to admit, she's the only one who's actually stepping up to the plate out of any Liberal MPs right now. Everyone else is kind of oh man, I gotta worry about my pension, I gotta worry about my salary and my family. Guess what? All of our families are struggling out here. We need you to step up, please. Holy smokes.
And I feel they don't get it. It's if you don't step up, you're losing your job 100%.
Yeah.
If you do step up, you might be able to save it. You're probably still 75% going to lose your job, but there's 25% now that you might save it. And at least you'll have something that you can go to bed at night going, okay, I wasn't total crap. You know what I mean? I just don't get this mentality. And I think about our previous guest, Elizabeth Smith McCrossan, and she's have some courage. Amen, lady. That's exactly what these people need. Get some courage, Liberal Party. If you want people's votes, then you need to earn them.
Yeah.
Stop, trying to vilify people and hope that will get you a vote, because it's not.
We'll cancel you if you don't vote for us.
And what's really crazy is that there's all this criticism right now. And I think even Jennifer L kind of mentioned it, about the fact that they're saying, oh, the left is splitting its vote between the NDP and the Liberals. And it's yes, technically, but at the same time, the NDP is losing support like crazy.
Yeah.
And we're like, you wouldn't have a super majority being forecasted for the Conservatives if it was just splitting the vote.
Yeah.
Like that wouldn't be the case. We're seeing polling that we've never seen before. Like, to quote our famous Prime Minister, it's an unprecedented time. Like, you know what I mean? So, and also, I don't think they're going to get rid of Freeland because they need somebody to hate besides Trudeau. And I think the reason why they put her in the media so much and only put Trudeau out there for puff pieces is because they're trying to give him some kind of shred of a better light. Because I saw that he did an interview with Julian Noetke, who's a famous YouTuber and TikToker. They had him at, I think it was Blossom Branch Farm. So he's doing a lot of feel-good reporting right now. He also did that stupid Canadian address there today, which we'll get into later. But he's not coming out to talk about any issues. It's all been Freeland. And I think that they're purposely doing that because they're trying to put the hate onto Freeland. And we're like, nah,
I'm not being fooled by that.
We know where it's coming from. Like, she can be the mouthpiece. We all know who's the puppet master. And so I know that they're trying that as their strategy and it's not working. But at the same time, they have to keep the heat on somebody. And so if they get rid of Freeland, it immediately, all of it, 100% of it goes right back to Trudeau. Yeah. So they're like, well, at least we can take some of it and dump it onto Freeland. So I don't think she's going anywhere.
Totally. Well, I'm banking on Trudeau sticking around. I'm hoping he does. I know we've had this disagreement. I don't want him going anywhere because he's so easily beatable now at this point. I just don't want someone smarter who has just as bad as policy getting in and swindling people again. That's just kind of where Mark Carney, he's a well-spoken man. He's got his policies are just as bad as Trudeau's though, but he's more well-spoken. He'll win people over. I don't want to see him getting in there. I'm banking on Trudeau's arrogance, being like, I'm gonna take this one to the finish line, boys. Watch me do this. Watch me make history.
You know, he's like, everyone loves me. Yeah. Don't look at that F Trudeau flag. Yeah. Everyone loves me. Don't look at that one either.
Absolutely, dude. Unreal. So we move on to your story that you really wanted to get into. What's going on over in France, brother?
Okay.
Far right taking over, eh? Holy jumping. It's taking over America, taking over Canada, now it's taking over Italy and taking over France. Oh, babe, big election happening over there.
Yeah. So if you remember, Macron was like, you know what? We're going to have an election and calls a snap election. And so they actually have their election in stages. And I'm not quite 100% familiar with how their electoral system is set up, but I know that they actually have multiple voting stages where they actually push people forward based on how many votes they get in the different stages. And so they just had their first round. So this first round of legislative elections saw Marine Le Pen, who is the leader of the quote unquote far right National Rally. That's the name of their party.
Okay.
So she's a French lawyer and politician, and she ran for French presidency in 2012, 2017, and 2022.
Oh, she's like Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, she's going for it again. So she's going for it again. And so right now they have 88 seats in French Parliament. They're projecting them to have 220 to 260, which is going to be a substantial increase.
Wow.
So that would bring them closer to what their majority number is 289 seats in the French Parliament, which would mean that even if they don't get the majority, they would still have to form like a cooperative governance model with Macron where they co-govern. And
wild.
He is not a fan of that.
I can imagine.
And so what I find interesting about that is like they're going, oh, this is far right politics, and I can't believe this is happening. And I saw like even friends of mine posting about it, and they're like, look, fascism has come to France finally, and all this.
Finally,
like,
who's saying finally? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. So, but what I find really interesting is that, you know, what this means is that if this person gets into power, it's going to completely change their relationship with NATO and they completely change their relationship with the European Union. And I'm like, does that mean it's going to be a bad change though?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part that I think everybody gets hung up on, because it's like this fear of the unknown, and you've got this massive media outlet going, it's going to be bad. And then people are like, oh my God, it's so scary. And I'm like, is it though? Because what you're seeing happening is the population there are really rebelling against the overreach of the EU, the overreach of immigration policies, the problems with their economy that are completely derived from not being able to compete in a way that serves France first. And they're calling all this far right. And I'm like, I had this like come to God moment where I'm sitting there, I'm like, am I actually far right? I'm looking at it.
They're gaslighting you good.
Yeah, because I'm like looking at this, I'm going, okay, so I started like looking up the things that would qualify them as being far right. And so they've got anti-immigration stance. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not anti-immigration, but I'm like for smart immigration because, in Canada at least, we don't have the infrastructure for people. And we've said this a million times. So put that on pause for a bit. That's immediately far right, apparently. Nationalism. So they're focusing on preserving French cultural identities, their traditions, and like they're, because like what's happening too is they're having a problem where they've got a bunch of people coming in who have religious beliefs against the homosexual community, against like the very public nudity and very open way of French life that we're all familiar with, nude beaches and such. That's what France is known for. But anyway, and they are very much against that, and they're trying to shut that down. And so you see the French people there going, we are French natives to this place. Like, this is where we were born. This is where we are from. And we have people coming in trying to tell us that our way of life is wrong. We're fighting against that. So that's considered far right, apparently.
Cool.
And then also being critical of the EU, which I already mentioned.
Yeah, check.
Populism. So that's,
can't have that.
Being critical of the political establishment, financial institutions, mainstream media, considering them all to be out of touch, that's considered far right.
All right. We are a far right podcast.
Yeah. So being tough on crime.
Oh,
that's also another one.
That.
Nope.
No, not allowed that. Okay.
Economic protectionism, which is another one I had mentioned. So supporting protectionist policies designed to safeguard the French economy. That is considered far right. So, and then the one thing that I found that I was like, because I'm like looking at all this, I'm like, this all seems to make sense. Like preserve your culture so you have, some sense of self and unity and cohesion. Don't bring in more people than you can handle because duh. Like, does that really need an explanation? And, push your economy first so that you're not losing out to other players that are not playing fairly. Like, this all seems to be very smart and very like grounded. This doesn't seem to be like, guns ablazing, wild, what I have always considered as far right. The like that kind of like far right is what I'm imagining. But what I did think was interesting was that, so this party was actually founded by Marine Le Pen's father back in 1972, and he actually had some spicy views. He actually had legal action and court cases that were won against him, where he had specifically started downplaying the Holocaust. It's like, yeah, that's kind of gross. Yeah. And then he also made this very interesting comment where he said that the day that there's no more immigrants, there will be no more crime. Wow. Which we know is just completely incorrect.
Wow.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. French Revolution, anyone?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. But anyway, so it's like, so you see that kind of history and you go, okay, this is a little messed up. But then I have to wonder, like, the history of everything is just kind of a little messed up when you look at it like closely enough. And it's like, does this person have some of her father's views? I don't know.
We don't know.
Maybe. Possibly. I mean, logic would say that probably he passed on some of those views, but I don't think you can judge the daughter by the sins of the father. And at the same time, it's like, it's going to be more than one person in that party who has more than one belief system. So it should all come out in the wash at the end of the day.
You'll find out.
And if the people are looking at this going, I'm being overrun with like immigrants that don't share my values, and we don't have enough housing for them and infrastructure for them, and the European Union is doing nothing about it and instead just taking from us, and we really want to put France first, like, go for it.
Yeah.
That's what the election is for. And so by kind of criticizing people and going, this is wrong, like they're evil, they're fascists, like I think that's absurd.
Yep. That's stupid. You keep gaslighting people, it will continue getting worse. But I love the idea of, do you judge the daughter for the sins of the father? Because the same thing can be said about Freeland here. Isn't her grandfather a former Nazi officer?
Yeah.
But like, I don't like her, but I don't automatically think that she's a Nazi sympathizer because of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same type of thing. So it's let it come out in the wash. We'll find out.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll judge their views as they come.
And that's the thing, right? Is that she's made no comments about the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
And like, she's made some like questionable comments about immigration, but I can see that happening because they're having an immigration crisis right now.
Yeah.
All of Europe is.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see how that would frustrations. I mean, look what happens with our premier when he tries to comment with media. He messes it up too.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. I like nothing that I've like listened to so far has like made me go, this person is going to be Hitler 2.0. But the way you read it in the media, you'd think it would be.
Yeah.
And I feel like it kind of translates so well to Canada because I feel like I feel the same things here. It's like, we need to be smarter about our immigration. We need to be smarter about our economy and put ourselves first and not, bending over to the US, to China and to other foreign entities. And also we need to get our crime under control. Like the fact that we have like cars being stolen in broad daylight where the police are saying, just leave the keys by the door so it's safer for your car to be stolen. Like it's absurd. Mm-hmm. So yeah, obviously people are going to go a little more right because the left is just like, it's okay.
Bunch of psychos. Yeah. Absolutely.
So
yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And it's the gaslighting that continues to happen that frustrates people and then gets them, I guess, for quote, end quote, more extreme, is because if you stop listening to them, they're going to really stop listening to you real quick. And they're going to just totally disengage with everything you're saying. Then we're going to have what we currently have. Two disparate realities not talking to each other, and the only way that you're gonna get us to vote for you is saying that we're bad and we're the worst thing since Hitler. That's why it's just villainizing your people just doesn't seem to be working.
Yeah,
that's why we're seeing the rise of far right politics all across the world. So, or across the West,
across the West.
I should say that. we all know that China's already far right. So I was kidding. That's a joke. They're communists. They're far left. But again, we all know it touch each other. They all touch each other eventually.
Yeah,
so.
the horseshoe
theory. We're out here for it. But hey, we're here for it, big dog. No, we're not. I'm just kidding. We're moving on. Segment 4. Unless you had one last thing to say before we move on.
No, let's go. Let's go to the next one.
Let's move. Keep the party going. Expansion of simple file by phone and the implementation of an automatic tax filing system coming to us. You found this out through the PBO. Sir, update us. What the heck is this about? Dude, I might have no say over my taxes anymore. Are they going to steal money from me without even asking more of it? What's happening?
So basically what they're looking at is that they know because they get T4s and they get like Statistics Canada data on like who has kids, who don't have kids. They know there's a certain percentage of the population who are just not filing. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, okay, you're actually missing out on your child tax credits. You're missing out on your low income earner payments. And so they were like, there's actually quite a substantial amount of money being left on the table that would be benefits to you, but you're just not filing. And so this is how this came about. So this came out first in 2018 when they started offering it. It's called Simple File. And so it was like a product that they did over the phone where they had the person's information already. And they said, we know that you have 2 kids and we know that you're working this minimum wage job and we can see your stuff. Like, can you just answer a few questions? Like, do you have a kid in daycare? And you know what I mean? So they would actually do like very straightforward tax filings over the phone. It takes about 10 minutes for them, they said. And so, which on the surface feels very, very good. You know what I mean? If you're actually providing more benefits to people than you are taking away from them, then like that's obviously a net benefit. So what's happening though is that this July, so now today,
oh baby,
the CRA is going to pilot digital and paper options for the Simple File service in all jurisdictions across Canada. Oh boy. So it's getting completely rolled out. So these pilots are specifically, again, targeting low-income folks, trying to get them connected to the benefits and things that they might be missing out on. And so the plan is for broader implementation for us all, but they're starting with the low-income folks to begin with. And so the PBO has estimated that non-filers, so these folks who are in this low-income bracket who haven't been filing or who have had gaps in their filing, could receive more than $1.6 billion in benefits in the first year alone, and increasing to $1.9 billion in the second year. So these benefits include the Canada Child Benefits, CCB, which, by the way, sucks if you are making any kind of money at all. Just throwing that one out there because I need to get that off my chest. The GST, HST tax credits, and other things that are currently being claimed or not claimed by these folks who are not filing their taxes. This administrative burden, though, on the CRA is going to cost them $57 million in the first year to $65 million in the next. So we're going to be paying for that. And then, but the thing that they said, though, is that over 5 years, the additional benefits paid out to these folks, which I think they're deserving of, is going to cost nearly $9 billion. And so the problem I have with this is, like, one is not people accessing the money that they obviously should get. Like, it's only fair that they get that. The problem I have, though, is, like, where's the money going to come from? Like, it's $9 billion. And I kind of had this realization the other day when I was talking to my brother about, like, we were like going off. We're like, oh, $5 billion to Ukraine, ridiculous. And he was like, yeah, he's like, I can't believe they're taking our taxpayer dollars to give to Ukraine. I was like, actually, they're not. And here's the mind flip that I had. I was like,
It's getting worse. It's worse than that.
yeah, they're borrowing $5 billion to send to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have the money. We're in deficits. We don't have the money. We're borrowing that money to then give. And so when they keep talking about, like, the cost of debt servicing, like, you throw that $5 billion that you gave to Ukraine that you don't have, we're paying the debt servicing on that as well as the money. So it's not $5 billion. It's $5 billion plus all the servicing of that over how many years and how many generations. So that's the part that I'm like, okay, now we add another $9 billion that we don't have. So that we're going to have to borrow and then service. And then we have to pay the servicing fees on it, which we know are ever climbing. And then where does that money come from? Well, then we're going to have to introduce a new tax. Or maybe the carbon tax / fund that we've kind of got going behind the scene that is apparently neutral. Like, we're going to take some of that and use it for this. Like, you know, I am so ready for Pierre Poilievre to step in and go, like, here's the books, Canada.
Yeah. It's worse than you thought.
Yeah. I'm thinking, though, I don't think he can. I think it's so bad that if he did that, our credit rating would go through the toilet and we'd be in economic collapse.
Look at what they did. Christian Freeland gets on the mic. They took our AAA rating and made it single A.
Yeah.
Double Z.
Yeah. It's a Z right now.
Yeah.
It's a Z rating.
Yeah. It's like,
But yeah, so that's what I'm worried about, because I'm just like, I'm not even touching the fact that, like, there's two thoughts to automated filing. One, like, there's, like, the duh moment. Like, if they already like know what you should be paying, and then they're going to come and try and, like, be sneaky and be like, oh, you actually owe this much and we're going to charge you for X number of years and all that crap. It would be so much easier on the individual to just be like, just tell me what I owe and we'll pay it and it's all good. Like, I see that as being a win. The problem that I also see is that this government, I don't trust them. So this government, I'm like, if you're telling me what I owe, do I actually believe you?
yeah.
And that's where the problem is. Like, this could be a really good thing, but used with the wrong person that you have no trust in and that has been shown to be untrustworthy and lying and stealing and doing deals with folks that they shouldn't be doing deals with, India and China,
Yeah.
and private companies. Like, I don't trust them with it.
Yeah. Like, you know, I don't know, not everyone has, you know, and this is obviously the issue, and especially with the lower income, is not everyone has accessibility to good accountants.
Yeah.
But, like, at least the current system, you know, like, if you have an accountant on your side, you have someone who should be advocating for you, and you're not just, like, trusting you're at the whims of the government, hoping to give you the right amount that you owe. At least you have someone in your corner who's, like, looking over the books and be like, actually, you know, you only owe this much. We can do this X, Y, and Z, and move on from there. So, like, I hear it, and in theory, in a vacuum, this is a fantastic idea, but it's so fraught with issues that I think is just going to screw over the lower income like, more than they already are. And that's why I'm kind of not really a fan of it. And, like, I get the argument where there's, like, yeah, like, there's benefits on the table that they're not taking advantage of, this, that, the other. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I hear that. like, again, because they're not really, if they're as low as what they say they are, that you're not going to owe any tax whatsoever. So if they just file, they essentially are getting some money back. It's actually a net positive for them in a lot of ways. But I just, oh man, I have a tough time with, like, I just have a tough time with like them just automatically just, it's another opportunity for those who are low income, who have a lack of resources, to be disenfranchised by this government.
Yeah.
That's it.
Because I thought the same thing, because I was like, there is the benefit of them getting the money that they're owed and they deserve. But then there's the opposite effect of them going, oh, by the way, because you haven't filed in 7 years, we're going to charge you back tax on all this and interest on that. And then they're like screwed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Quicken Loans.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to Simply Home to rent their furniture.
Yeah.
Like, it just, I'm worried about that being weaponized. And I guess that's what I'm trying to articulate, is that all of this under a trustworthy government is excellent. There's nothing wrong with the plan or the policy. It's the implementers of this that I do not trust, that we have seen instances with the CRA right now where they are blatantly targeting folks who they know don't have the accountant in their corner, or who don't have powerful lawyers to fight them. And so, because you have a government right now who is spending like crazy, spending money that they don't have, that we don't even have, that they're borrowing, and they've got to find a way to make it up. Yeah. And so that's what I'm scared of, is an untrustworthy government with this kind of policy.
Yeah, I don't disagree, man. Absolutely. Well, as we talk about all the amazing things that our Canadian government has done in the past while, we talked about this, I think it was last week. What makes you proud of Canada? And Canada Day this year, there's some I've talked to, who, you yourself included, who felt this was kind of a weird Canada Day this year. It seemed like there's just like a lack of celebration, lack of people who are into it. So we kept an eye out for y'all of like, what are the celebrations looking like? And here in Halifax, our celebrations were delayed because it was a little foggy and rainy today, so it moved on. So today, it wasn't like the greatest weather, so it already felt kind of weird and off in general. So the festivities weren't really all there. I don't even know if they were planned, but there wasn't a whole lot going on. We have our fireworks. That got pushed off. That's all I know. What were you seeing?
I wasn't seeing a lot either. Ottawa obviously had a little bit more because it's the capital. Yeah. Something that I thought that was interesting was that, like, you're not seeing a lot of like what I would expect to be like traditional born and raised Canadians at events. Like a lot of the photos, like you're like, oh, there's folks of Chinese descent, folks of Indian descent, folks of like, you know, that look like they might be recent immigrants. Now that's a total generalization to generalize in that way. And I acknowledge that and I wear that. But what I think is that it's interesting when you have a population that is like, 70% white in this country, and then you don't see that reflected proportionally in the photos of all these different events happening. It's like, where is that population? Are they feeling that disenfranchised that, you know, only the people, because like I think it's great that the new immigrants are going out to these celebrations and very proud of the country that they've moved to. I think that's a win. So don't misquote me or misunderstand what I'm saying here. I think what's disappointing is that if those are the only folks celebrating, what's going on? And so there was a few celebrations across the country that I had clicked through and scrolled through, and I was checking social media and kind of just doing like a temperature check. And just from anecdotal conversation with different folks that are in my network, it's just saying like, no, we're not really doing anything this year. Like it's feeling pretty dismal. And so I was just like, man, like this is where you need strong leadership to come in and try and bring people back, because although Trudeau has been like the worst, I always think of that meme, like the worst. It's true. He is.
Shout out Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I love Parks and Rec. I still think that like there's other global pressures happening that we don't have control over, that you can't blame Trudeau for. And this is where if you had a strong leader to unify the country and be like, we know there's crap going on in the world. We know that Russia's currently flirting with a World War III. We know that China's acting nefariously. We know that like everything that's happening in the Middle East right now is horrific. People dying. It's awful. We know that. But what we need to do is look inward and look at our communities and like, you know what I mean? Like bring it back. Oh God, I almost did it. I almost did it. Oh, this is when you know you're consuming too much conservative media. You start using the phrases, but you know what I mean? Like bring it back to the community level. And the problem is that like they didn't do that. And we got this knob out there saying some interesting things. I don't know if you caught the Prime Minister of our country sharing his thoughts and remarks for Canada Day, but we'll just show you a little clip that I thought was extremely fun.
Our rights and freedoms are never guaranteed. They're safeguarded every day by trailblazers, journalists, activists, organizers, people who want to keep building a country where we can disagree, sometimes passionately, but where we always come together in the pursuit of something greater than ourselves. A country.
So, two things I thought was like kind of on this theme of like people being, depressed about their national identity. We have Justin Trudeau here. He gave his message. Not one Canadian flag in sight. Not even a pin. Nothing. Yeah. Nothing. And I saw this as well with the American debates. Usually every American debate, there's American flags all behind them. This year, just CNN logos plastered everywhere. Not one American flag in sight. What is going on? It does play into what we are seeing where just there's a lot of worldly pressures and trying to like just make everyone just one big melting pot and trying to dissolve any type of national identity is how I see it. And that's it. That this kind of plays into that narrative that people have been seeing and feeling.
Yeah, because I'm like, he's not even wearing white and red. I'm wearing red for Pete's sake.
Yeah, what the heck?
It's Canada Day.
Yeah.
And I thought the same thing. I was like, I know that the Americans are a little cheesy. Like they've got an eagle flying off and then the flag waving just perfectly in the back. But you know what though? There's something to be appreciative of that level of cheese where it's like, you know what? You love yourself so much. Like you're going to that over the top and I'm here for it. Like I was laughing. I was telling a person the other day about my wedding and I was saying that we have a photo of my mother-in-law starting her speech talking about Jen and our wedding. And she starts the speech and the picture of her starting, it's light out. And then they show the picture of her like leaving the stage and it's dark out behind her. Because she talked that long about how proud she was of her daughter. And like, that's what the kind of, love for a country that I want to see happen. And we're not seeing that at all. Like, not even a little bit. I'm like, okay, is that Vancouver behind you? That's what it looks like. You got the mountains and the city. And I'm like, cool. Yeah, 0 Canada flags, not in red, just out there looking like a knob.
Yeah, got his sleeves rolled up, showing how hard he's working for you.
Yeah. Like, I'm just like, you could be selling me car insurance at the end of this. Like, that's what I'm expecting. It's like, this is brought to you by Geico.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it just, and then the statement though, that, our rights and freedoms are never guaranteed. How ominous is that? Mm-hmm. Like, who was his speech? Did he write that one himself or did he have somebody like ghost write that for him? Because like,
probably one of his interns.
Yeah. I'm like, what a weird phrase to say. And then I liked what you said before the show. And he's like, and they're not safeguarded by the military. I like that he did not say that.
Yeah. He just talked about trailblazers, journalists, activists, organizers, and people who want to keep building a country where we can disagree sometimes passionately. Not one point did he talk about the military, which I had some very interesting conversations the past week with military members currently in service, who the military is demoralized right now.
Yeah.
They keep defunding everything because they just like our military is depleted right now. So when we talk about we're sending over supplies and stuff over to Ukraine, I'm like, what are we sending them? We're just sending them with a check with maybe essentially a blank check with our names on it, and that's about it. We're not sending them anything that's helping them, quote unquote.
We can send them a couple Sea Kings. I hear they're really reliable.
Yeah. Seriously, right?
Maybe some subs. I hear they're totally seaworthy. Anyway, that's just because I have an inside touch on the military. But they do mention the military at the very beginning of his speech when he's talking about, we have military fighting for democracy in other countries. And like, I was like,
shut up.
Oh, okay. But, it was weird.
Yeah.
It was
odd. Yeah. The There was one Canada Day celebration that like, I was like, wow, for the first time, I was like, wow, I feel proud to be Canadian right now.
Wait. Can we guess the province first?
Go for it.
Was it Alberta?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
BC.
Nope.
And we certainly wasn't Quebec.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Was it in Ontario?
It was.
Oh my God.
The opening of the Toronto Blue Jays game. They had about a 30-minute presentation for Canada Day.
Wow.
It was astounding. The videos they showed, the people they brought out like 5 veterans for the opening pitch. Like people who like fought in like World War II, Vietnam, a lot of these different situations. And then just, yeah, like huge praise for the military, huge praise for people, men and women who served, big Canadian flag that almost took up the whole field. It was huge. And then they had the military sing "O Canada." Mm-hmm. It was something to behold. I thought it was a really well done presentation.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're here for. Like, we want the over the top hooray for us celebrations, because as I kind of alluded to, and I think this is how I want to kind of wrap up this segment, is that there still is a lot to be proud of in this country.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the part that I had to kind of like shift my brain a little bit. It's like, we have an absolute loser for a prime minister right now. There's no denying it. He sucks. He's demoralized the country. He's an embarrassment on the world stage, but he's not Canada. Mm-hmm. As much as he thinks he is, he's not Canada. And there still is a lot happening at a community level. And I know that I kind of alluded to this because my job actually gives me hope. I work in healthcare. I get to see the amazing things, like absolutely astounding things, like things like products that we're using on patients in trials where they have been suffering for years and now they're being healed. Like it's literally scientific and medical marvels happening, homegrown in Canada for Canadians. I'm just like, why is this kind of thing not being shouted from the rooftop? And then, like I said, when you're just looking around at the physical beauty of our province and of our country, like clean air, fresh water, like just not in Calgary and Halifax, but like, you know what I mean? Like generally on a whole, like an absolutely stunning place on earth.
Yeah.
And with good people, like that should be the pride of Canada right now. And it's completely being overshadowed by this knob. Mm-hmm. But I really think that there's still so much to be proud of in this country. And I think that although that we're having a moment right now where things are really, really bad and there's no way around it, like things are really bad and there's a lot to be upset by, I think that we just have to kind of like look at it like this too shall pass and we'll get through it. And eventually we'll get back to a place where we can be really prideful and have those big celebrations and really, really feel them. And that's just kind of how I'm looking at my Canada Day right now.
Yeah, I don't blame you, dude. And yeah, we posted, you know, my soliloquy from last week about why you should still celebrate Canada Day. And there again, it was really interesting to read the demoralization in the comments. Like, there's nothing to be proud of. I'm like, shut the heck up. I hear you. It sucks. But what you just said was point blank what we've been trying to get on. This guy doesn't speak for us. He doesn't represent us. The people are still here fighting. Those are the people I'm proud to call my fellow Canadians. And we're gonna keep this party going. He's gonna be gone fairly soon. And we need to make sure there's something to save.
Yeah,
trying to figure out.
And we need to be ready for that. That's the other thing. We need to be ready for the change that's coming. Because like I said, there's so many people out there doing good work. I'm going to shout out the Family Resource Centers in Nova Scotia. So Family Resource Centers are basically community centers all across our province. And they are specifically there to help with community cohesion. And one of the ones that is by a friend of mine actually handed out full like seed kits for people to start their own home gardens to grow food, and like gave them $20 gift cards to the local nurseries that are in their area. Like really trying to, 1, support local business, 2, create self-sufficiency, 3, address like, you know, the food crisis by becoming self-sufficient, and then also giving classes on like how to can things, how to preserve things, like really trying to bring people back to a level of self-independence and feeling good about creating something and growing something. I was like, that's awesome. And that's just an initiative like here. I know there's these kind of things happening across the country. And it's like, those are the things that make me proud to be a Canadian. And I think that more of those need to be highlighted, and shame on our media for not doing that.
Yeah, well, surprise, surprise. Gee, well, we'll conclude there.
Yeah.
We went off. We went off. But that's how we feel, and we'll wrap her up with some wildcard stuff. Keep it light.
Yeah.
You actually finally have a link here for me to look at. I'm looking forward to this. I can't wait to check this out.
I'm just hoping that I didn't already send this to you.
I just made an Evite for my daughter's first birthday party. And on Evite, it says import contacts. And I thought it meant import to select through. No, it imported all 487 of my contacts and invited them to this birthday party. Not only did it invite my boss, all of my coworkers, all of the people that have ever been stored in my phone, but it sent an invitation based off of how they're stored in my phone. And I want you to just take a second and think about everyone stored in your phone and how they're stored in your phone. And then imagine them receiving an invitation. Derek Eyeroll, he received an invitation. Jess hit her car in parking lot. Anyways, I have to quit or get a new identity. I don't even know.
That's tough. That's tough. So tell me, like, how do you have some people labeled in your phone?
Oh, dude, there's a lot of those in there.
Yeah. I have one. It's just horse manure.
Gee,
The people I get manure from for my garden. So they'd be getting a message to, hey, horse manure.
Yeah, I got one here, Jovel Airbnb guy, Calgary. That's my first one right here. Yeah, I have a few of those.
Yeah, I think there's another one that I have on my phone too. It's just like, this person from work, and this, like, not even their name, just this person from work, and I know exactly who that person is. Oh shoot! But like, they would be getting that.
No, yeah, that's tough.
Like, luckily, I don't, like, I've been married for 10 years, like, this August, so I don't have any, like, spicy things in there. It's not, like, secret mistress or, like, lover face, you know? I mean, like, luckily, there's none of that, but I can imagine some single folks have some spicy.
Especially these days, bro. Especially these days, man. I hear stories of the dating scene, and I'm like, no, thank you. I'm so glad I'm not looking for a partner in this day and age.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I loved that, though.
Holy, I mean, you should. This one's okay. Here we go, dude. My turn. I actually don't remember what I put in here, but I hope you enjoy it, whatever it is.
Dad, guess what?
Yeah.
What?
I put a chip clip on my wiener.
Okay.
You don't believe me?
Oh no, sadly I believe you.
Well, it hurts.
I'm sure it does. Take it off.
No, you gotta see this first.
I'm definitely not looking at that, so no.
Dad, can you please bring me another chip clip? I want to try out too.
I'm not giving you another chip clip to put on your...
Just the disappointment, like, here we go again. I thought it was awesome.
It hurts.
Then take it off. No, this is crazy.
Oh man, the joys of parenting. For the sake of my daughter's future, I'm not going to share any stories like that.
Good.
But yeah.
Good idea. Good idea, dude.
I'll just say that, like, this is commonplace for parenting, and I'm here for it because, like, in the moment you're just like, why did you do that thing? And then you're like, you know what? I was a kid once. I probably did something like that or worse.
Said that, just got to try it out sometimes, see what happens. Gee, well, what a show. What a time. We are grateful that you took the time out to be with us. So whatever it is you're doing, whether you be watching the Euro Cup,
celebrating Canada Day,
or just getting back to the grind at work, whatever it is you're doing, wherever you are, we love you. We're out. Peace.